Welcome to the Fishbowl Radio, everybody. My name is Chief here, and joining me today is Jalen. We're going to be talking a little bit about Louisiana Ragin Cajun men's basketball, technically, because they did hire their new head coach. Ragin Cajuns Baseball is underway currently right now against Southern. Right now, they're currently losing that game 5-2 currently, and Ragin Cajun Softball taking on LSU as well tonight. Here, without further ado, let me introduce everybody to Jalen. How you doing today, Jalen?
Hey, I'm doing well, Chief. Doing well. Another great day to be a Raging Cajun. As I always say, and hey, we got some kind of breaking news that's going on in men's basketball.
Yesterday, it was announced that the Cajuns ended up picking their new head coach. So, how you feel about that decision yesterday, Jalen?
I think it was a great decision, Chief. Nothing against the interim coach, but most ADs want to go out there and try to find a guy as soon as the season's over with. They went up there and got. I don't want to mispronounce his name. I'm gonna say Quantus White. That's what I'm gonna say.
I think that sounds
Yeah,
about
that's what I'm
right.
gonna say. But I think
That's about right.
that does sound right. Excuse me if I said it wrong, but I think he's the perfect guy for the job. I mean, he's been with Houston for these last almost a decade. Been with Houston, and that's a Houston as an associate head coach, and that's a Houston team that recently just went to a Final Four not too long ago. Chief, if you remember, so. Getting that experience, being on that coaching staff, being on Kelvin Sampson's coaching staff, the legendary coach he is, I think he's going to bring that great intensity and everything it is to bring to the Cajuns. Not only that, everybody's saying how he has been one of the top recruiters, not just in the conference that Houston plays in, but in the whole scape of college basketball. So I think if he brings that to this Louisiana Raging Cajuns men's team too, they're able to recruit more players, get players to want to transfer in. I think overall that's going to help with everything also. And I just think it's just a great move. He's from Louisiana. I mean, you got a guy
Out of
that's
New
from the
Orleans,
state.
man.
He's out of
New
New Orleans.
Orleans native.
Got a guy that's from the state, that's been a coach, been on the coaching staff of a top tier team. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better person to replace Bob Marlin, but only time will tell. But hey, I think I did see those tickets are already out for sale right now,
Yeah,
Chief.
they are already pushing it out right now. They're starting out. Season tickets start at $100, and you can go up from there, obviously. But yeah, I think the Cajuns got one of the best assistants in the country, and that was kind of something I was kind of expecting that they would do here. You wanted to get somebody from a Power Five school that was, kind of a legacy basketball program, kind of like in that regard there. But I think the way the Cajuns, I think Baggert hit the nail on the head with this one. He's been very good at hiring good coaches throughout his tenure here. I mean, we look at getting Michael Desimo, taking over Billy Napier. Billy Napier was a hire of his as well. He very rarely misses the mark here. Like the athletic standard of the Cajuns have grown since Dr. Maggard took over as athletic director way back in 2017. So it's very hard to doubt him for sure. I mean, look, if you look at Gary Glasgow and softball, they kind of, I mean, depending on how you look at that, they kind of kept the same kind of thing going there. And Allison Habbett's looking like she's on path to get to a regional for Raging Cajun softball as well here as they play LSU tonight in Baton Rouge. And, Matt Deggs, consecutive regionals and stuff. And they're getting postseason recognition and stuff. So looking at it, he's usually pretty good at hiring these guys. So let's see how he does here. I think this is a great hire. He's got my endorsement for sure. I think we're going to be seeing some really good things come out of men's basketball in that Cajun Dome in a couple of years here. A couple of Sun Belt titles I'm expecting here. But, it's not going to happen in year one. It's going to probably take 2-3 years. You got to give coaches time to get acclimated with their, players and the surrounding areas. The culture of this area here and stuff is unique compared to the rest of the country whenever you start talking about South Louisiana in regards to nationwide here. So that's something that we're going to have to see how all that goes when we get right down to it here. I'm expecting, typically we usually see a program get built up 3 or 4 years. I think we can kind of expect that. That's the normal path of a head coach. But with the transfer portal and everything, that can be, we saw with Coach Desimo, right? Look at football. 22, 23, kind of 6-7 record. And in 2024, went to the Sun Belt Championship game. Kind of the same thing happened with, Billy Napier. Kind of the same thing there. I mean, 2018 was like 500 record. Then 2019 had our breakthrough. 2020, Sun Belt, co-champs. 2021, Sun Belt champions. That works out that way. And, Matt Deggs, he won the Sun Belt tournament, I think in 2022. Or not 22, 21, or somewhere around there. But y'all get what I'm saying, though, because 2020 really doesn't count too much there. I kind of still like that's like a mulligan year kind of for everybody here with COVID and everything going on. But just looking at the spectrum and how everything went here with college athletics and with their coaches and stuff, you got to typically give, even with the transfer portal, 3 or 4 years for these guys to get in there and, do what they got to do there. And I think the Cajuns, I think they made a great hire. I think we're going to be seeing some good things come out of the Ragin Cajun men's basketball program here. So let's start talking about baseball, Jalen. I know that it happens. So getting swept by UC, winning only one game. Dallas Baptist one game. Now they're losing to Southern right now, 5-4. Will Taylor is on the mound right now, currently pitching for the Cajun, top of the 7.54. And look, 4 errors on the night so far for the Cajuns. And like I said before, many times on this show here, and y'all probably sick of me talking about this kind of stuff here. You cannot win games consistently if you're constantly making mistakes. It's a factor of the beast. Fundamentals are part of the game, and that is something that has to be preached. Like, just crazy things like this, taking your time, setting your feet whenever you're trying to throw the ball to first base is something they teach you in when you're 8 years old, pony league, little league. I don't know what they call it anymore, but like that this is routine stuff. Like this is stuff that you should not be doing as a college athlete. But here we are, back in the 4-error game here. Like, like I said, mid-March was the time for the Cajuns to get everything ready to go, and they got to start getting ready for it because that conference is going to start up this weekend. Jalen, what you think so far about the Ragin Cajun baseball season?
I think right now, and to be fair to you, you did call it like saying how the middle of March, and you see how things are going with this Cajuns team. I think they're kind of in a slump right now, if I'm being honest with you. Like getting swept by UC Irvine was not the biggest thing in the world. I had no idea they were going to get swept, but that's okay. It happens. Teams get swept. But then, they were able to beat UNC Wilmington. They were able to beat Dallas Baptist. But then guess what? Right after that, they lost 10-6 to Dallas Baptist. And then guess what? The last game against Dallas Baptist lost 8-2. They only put up 2 runs. So and you said, like you said right now, Chief, they're losing to Southern right now. So it's just like they're on the mist right now, going on a 3-game losing streak. That's not great, especially with this upcoming series. Well, excuse me, they had McNeese first, but then they already lost McNeese early in the year, Chief. If you go back look at that. And the first series coming up on the weekend against Troy, I mean, it's only going to get tougher when you get, because if you're losing like consistently now against teams that's not in your conference, you get in conference play, you want to get the momentum. Momentum is a big thing in sports. We talk about all the time, Chief. But it's just right now they just don't have that momentum. I think it's probably a mixture of pitching, a mixture of they're just errors, a mixture of not being able to get a lot of hits. I mean, because like you said, just putting up a couple runs, 2 runs against Dallas Baptist in the 3rd game. They put up 6 in the game before that, but Dallas Baptist put up 10. So, I mean, they just have to get more hits, and we have to wait and see.
I don't think the bats are the problem. I think the Cajuns have bats. I think they're going to be consistent. I think they're going to be good at the plate. But what worries me, I could care less about how good of a hitting team you are, okay? I think that if you could have the best hitting team in all of college baseball, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day, I would rather take the best pitching team in the entire country over the best hitting team because you can't score on a best pitching team because they'll shut you down. I will use Paul Skeens as the perfect example because whenever he got on that mound, everybody knew that this was probably the best pitcher in the country. And he absolutely was that year for LSU when they won the national championship. Perfect example right there. LSU did not have the best pitching staff that year, but they won the national championship because, you had Dylan Cruz and those guys right there. They had a good enough team around them. They probably but bullpen wise, they didn't have the best. They didn't have the best bullpen that year. That was Wake Forest, but Wake Forest, they just ran out. I mean, at the end, they had, it was a duel that whole entire game between LSU, and then that should have been a national championship series right there. I think if LSU wouldn't have beaten Wake Forest in that game and they would have dropped it, they would have been eliminated, first of all. But if they would have, if Wake Forest didn't have a loss going into that game, I don't think LSU wins a national title. Sometimes that's how the matchups play out. And that's something that is one of those things here. But the baseball team this year, they just don't have the bullpen. I just don't think they have it this year as far as pitching goes. I think they have the bats. I think the fielding could be better. I mean, these errors that they make, overthrowing first base or missing a fly ball or errors are just errors. They can happen to any great team. But when you do it consistently like that, it's a fundamental problem, not I think that has to be corrected with coaching. And that's just, comes down to scouting players and stuff like that. Not doubting Coach Deggs at all. I just think that might be just one of those years that we're just having a down year in baseball, and we just have to accept it. There's always next year, and I think that's one of those things here. I don't think the Cajuns are going to make it to a regional this year, if I'm being completely honest. I just don't think that. I think the Sun Belt, they have 3 teams ranked right now, top 25. I don't see the Cajuns winning the series against Troy. I think they'll drop 2 or 3 against Troy. They'll probably end up winning 1 here. I'm not saying that if you look at the live RPI of the Cajuns right now, if I get this in the second half of the year, it's going to be bad because they're 114 right now. Net, 113 RPI right now currently. Live updates 114. They dropped this one. They got the 29th schedule here. That could be a positive sign. If you're looking at it effective here, that the Cajuns have lost to good competition if you compare it to the rest of the country. So it may not be as bleak as I'm making it here, but I don't schedule really thick. Schedule doesn't make first. That doesn't normally happen. And whenever we were talking about a month ago, we were talking about it's not conference schedule because it's tough. It's going to make you better as the season goes along. Whenever you get to the back end of this schedule here, now it's time to prove it. Just shut me up and just win games. That's all I'm asking for right now. So if you can go in there and win this series against Troy, I think they're ranked now. I think they got into the top 25 or the bottom. Yeah, they're ranked because I just looked at it there. So looking at it here, Troy, their RPI is 25 right now, and they're a 13-3 record, but they haven't played anybody. Their strength schedule 122 right now in the country. So looking at it from that perspective, and if you're looking at live RPI updates and stuff, and it is time to start talking about have games played. Cajun 7-9. We need to win this. This is probably the most important for the Cajuns right now because they're just, and like you said, Jay, a slump is a great place to put it there. And I think that is exactly what is needed right now because they have to win this series today. Because I don't believe if they don't win this series this week, I think this Sun Belt is going to engulf them, and it's going to be rough on the Cajuns here. I just don't see it being that kind of way. So, what do you think, Jalen?
Yeah, I do agree with you with the aspect, Chief, when it comes to, hey, this is a big-time series against Troy. Listen, no Sun Belt opponent is going to be easy for anybody. Sun Belt in baseball is going to be one of the tough conferences in all of America. People could debate that all day. But what I'm saying is that in the first series against Troy, yes, the Cajuns do have to win it. I think, like you said, they are in a slump. We both agree. But the thing is about a slump, you can get out of it. And like you said, they need to get some wins. And I think that they're going to do that. I think they're going to get this win against Troy. Not just a win. I think they're going to win the series. I give the Cajuns 2 or 3 games. I think winning against this ranked Troy team will boost this team and give them that momentum and let them prove to themselves that, hey, we can beat the best of the best. And let's keep us going. Let's keep us going forward. Coach Diggs is going to be right there with these guys. And hey, I think they can pull it together. I'm not going to count the Cajuns just yet. It's not early because it's the middle of the season, but I will say it's not too late to make a run because that big dance. I mean, it's never too late to make a run.
I'm not saying it's like too late and people being on it, but this situation here, because from what I've seen with this baseball team is a lot. I mean, granted, they've had the injury list is growing. Like they have injuries on this baseball team here that, Chase Morgan doesn't look like he's going to be able to pitch Friday night. So that's going to be your best pitchers down. So you haven't had success with your number 2 or number 3 guy, and you're going to try to find somebody in that realm of guys there and just figure it out basically as you go here. So that is something that they're going to have to figure out. Who's this guy that's going to step up for the pitching staff here? I view this weekend as a put up or shut up weekend, because if they don't do it this weekend, looking at it from a way it is, and it's just tough because they're going to have to figure out who's step up. Like, I think that's the question I want to keep this who, like, everybody's like, okay, well, like, don't get up on them too much. Don't be so harsh on them or whatever. I'm like, and I think it just needs to be said. People just don't like, hearing about bad news, but I think it's okay to talk about it if you got some, like, they've had errors since the beginning part of the season. It's not like they haven't just had 1 or 2 off games where, oh, okay, like they're, but like they've had errors. Like they're playing against Troy this weekend, and they got Southeastern, South Alabama right after that. And South Alabama's a big baseball rivalry for the Cajuns here. Then they got LSU at LSU, James Madison, Northwestern State, Louisiana Tech, Texas State. I know ULM, they'll probably win that series. Old Dominion and Grambling. I know they got I think Southern Miss is the last series, Sunbelt series of the year. No, Arkansas State is. Okay. So you have May 20th is the Sunbelt tournament. So we have 2 months basically to get it done here. So like I said, and I know there's a lot of baseball games left to be played, but that's why I was so like March 14th, March 15th, and March 16th are probably the most important series of this entire schedule. Not because they're playing a ranked team, it's just based on what I've seen so far. Just, you only got 2 runs on that Sunday game. You had 6, but you gave up 8 and 10 right there. You gave up 5 on Friday night. You see Wellington, you got that one, but, some of these, dropped 12 against you, 9, 7. They won against Southeastern earlier, 3-0, and lost there. They beat Nebraska in a series, which is good. Nebraska was ranked. Nebraska is 6-1, but if you want to look at Nebraska, they have really performed up to what the top 20 schedule, the 20 was around this or stuff. I think something you got to figure. So, and what's your the softball team, and it's over. Final. LSU beat the Cajuns 14-0 tonight. Look, said this against LSU because about LSU in Acadiana in terms of like a podcast that have like a decent amount of following. I figured the Cajuns were going to lose this game, just based on what I saw. And LSU's a really good softball team this year. Like that is, they are really, really good. I mean, yeah, like I can see them getting the OKC this year. I think that's how good they are. And I mean, you look at this, and there's nothing to hang their heads about with this one here. You could look at it and be like, all right, look, because I mean, the Cajuns they have beaten some top 25 teams and some Power 5 teams. I know that doesn't really apply to like softball as much, but you lost to Texas 8-0, but you beat number 25 Ole Miss 6-5. You lost to Ole Miss, but you split that one. You split Alabama. You may have lost 14-1 again, but that's a midweek game. I don't think I'd really care too much about that one here. But hey, I was not expecting the Cajuns to come try to go to OKC this year because they lost a lot last year due to the transfer portal and Gary Glasgow leaving. I don't think that it would be fair to say, yeah, Cajun softball sucks this year when, we've been making the regionals for a good period of time, even with Glasgow and Low Teeth and the rest of them there. Like they've been like this program has been in the regionals for God knows how, like they've been in there since the 90s. They have been consistently in these regionals and stuff, and it's really hard. I think even with the transfer portal, that they're not what they say blue blood kind of thing, but they have Sun Belt, royalty. They're basically what they are, Sun Belt Conference royalty when it comes to softball. The softball down here is just really good. They're playing Marshall this weekend. And I think they might win all three of these games against Marshall, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Marshall's 12-12 so far this year. Cajuns have they have a higher RPI than a lot of people credit. And I think that a lot of people that are criticizing the team, like, oh, yeah, I don't know if they'll even make a regional out of that large bid or yada, 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 yada. Do y'all know what their non-conference strength of schedule is right now? Jalen, if I had to ask you what the non-conference strength schedule is against softball, we better tell me without looking at anything.
That's a good question. Strength, is it a very low number?
Oh yeah, very low.
How low we talking? We talking like under 30 low? Okay, we're talking under 15 low. All right, now you just gotta tell the people what the number is now.
The number is 8. They have the 8th toughest non-conference schedule in the entire country. Okay? This is a first-year head coach, Allison Habit.
Yeah.
She's played softball. She's been at Alabama. She knows how to win national. Like she's been in these tournaments, and she knows how to win against top 25 teams. Look at what happened this year. I mean, honestly, I think she's kind of ahead of schedule where she's honestly at here a little bit here. But look at the schedule. The schedule gets put out a couple of years before you actually go do the thing. But if you look at it, they may have lost 14-0 tonight, but their strength of schedule is 12 right now. It's going to drop because they got some Sun Belt teams coming up, and the Sun Belt isn't that great at softball typically as a conference as a whole. Marshall's 142, ULM 63. They'll play LSU again at 4, Coastal's 25. Coastal's 4. But I'm just going to say here, if you look at Coastal's schedule, they're at 69 right now with their strength of schedule. Take use 16-9. James Madison, it's Alabama 11-15. Then they got number 4 is Texas State, and Southern Miss 11-13. The Cajuns are going to be fine. Texas State is the one that everybody was kind of looking at here, and if you looked at the preseason,
it was.
I think the people that they 38 Texas State strength of schedule, they than 15-6 with a 138 strength of schedule. I mean, come on now. Texas State's supposed to be the conference leader here, but they have 6 losses. Coastal has a tougher schedule, and they're 21-4. Like, people jump the gun too much. People leave, much. But then, it's such a, pot calling the kettle black kind of thing, and I was shocked when the Cajun wasn't up there at the top 2. And they kind of I think, what were they ranked in the preseason again, Jalen? I think they were 4th, right?
If I'm not mistaken, because you know where Texas State was at. I'm not even trying to throw shade, but
but yeah, they were further down. I'm gonna look at it real quick here live. I want to make sure I'm accurate before I say anything. But I remember them not, and I was like, that's kind of weird. Sun Belt preseason. Let's see what they say.
Oh, they were right there at wasn't there right
they
there
were
right
2
behind Texas? Yeah, they were 2 right behind Texas State.
Yeah, they were 2, and I mean, it was definitely a little bit But they had they had 6 first place votes. 5-time defending regular season champion Louisiana, who was picked second in 6. So they had the most first place votes, but the points they had, Texas State ended up beating them. Somebody put James Madison at number 1. Coastal's at 6, so that tells you how well they actually did this preseason thing here.
So basically, what you're saying is, if the person would have voted JMU and they voted the Cajuns would have been the number 1 team.
Yeah, they would have been the number 1 team.
So who sat up there and tried to think JMU? I mean,
I'm not
no
gonna go
offense to
dig too
JMU.
deep in how people voted, but like in the preseason polls. But whenever you look at it from a perspective like that, I told y'all in the preseason that the Cajuns were gonna make it to a regional. I don't think anybody really thought they would. And they got some people out there that are saying, "Oh, they were gonna drop off a regional." But I mean, even with the mass exodus of players the Cajuns had, I think they're still gonna be all right in softball. I thought that from the beginning, before we even had first pitch, because we brought in some people too from the transfer portal and freshmen and stuff here. Not like being like regional softball power is going to go anywhere in a year. It would have, for the Cajuns for Ragin Cajun Softball to fall off a cliff here and basically plummet to where they wouldn't make the regionals every year or maybe every 2 or 3 years. What would have to happen is you have obviously a downward trend of you not making it to a regional, obviously here. And it's very hard once ever you're set in stone that kind of way. Like, for example, the Cajuns have been good in softball at regionals, making to the regionals since the 90s. They have been consistently in the regionals since the 1990s. You're talking about eroding something that's been going strong for the last, this is like 30 years, basically. Okay? 30 years. Do you think Walmart's going to declare bankruptcy anytime soon?
No.
Do you think Target's going to declare bankruptcy anytime soon?
No.
Like icons like Apple. You think Apple's going to declare bankruptcy anytime soon?
You know that's not happening.
That's what I'm saying.
You know that's not
you
happening.
could basically put the same thing, but they're like a regional powerhouse basically here. And, nationally, you could say, yeah, they're not quite there yet. I mean, they did make it to Oklahoma City. Last time was in 2014. Recently, last 10, 11 years, they haven't got to that point. But you understand what I'm saying here. They're not going to collapse anytime soon. They're going to make it to the regionals, I think, or the rest of the schedule here plays out here. And I just don't see it happening here. I think the Cajuns have good enough pitching, I think, this year to get them through the Sun Belt schedule. I think they'll take they might drop a game to Marshall. So I think 2 or 3 against Marshall would be really good for the softball team here coming into their first opening Sun Belt series here. Let me update this little not the ticker, but like this little caption here. So what you think, Jalen, about this series against Marshall?
Yeah, I agree with you, Chief. I think the Cajuns will take 2 or 3 against Marshall. If you ever noticed, the Cajuns was kind of on a little slump themselves, like losing to Alabama, losing to Iowa, at the a couple weeks ago. Well, not even that long ago, a couple days ago, I should say. And you look at the big time loss they had that we just talked about against LSU. I mean, we know LSU is one of the top teams in the nation. We understand that. Beth Torina has that squad playing awesome softball. But it's just one loss. All right. The Cajuns are gonna bounce back as soon as they get in conference play, which they're going to do against Marshall. I think they're going to take 2 or 3 and go continue with that momentum and keep going to the next game against McNeese. And then, like you said, ULM coming after that.
Yeah, I think the Cajuns will be all right. I kind of want to see how, obviously you want to see how well they do whenever they come back to it. But I think 2 or 3, it's going to be it's going to be it's crazy. On this out the Alabama tournament here, so it's gonna be one of those. I think people were just like pumping too much negativity in the softball program. That's my opinion on the whole entire thing. I think that's just the way it is, and knee-jerk reactions are not the way you want to do anything. And I think that's kind of what happened with the softball program. And it's fine, it's fair, but people just rush to conclusions instead of without seeing results get played out. And that's kind of like how it is here. I didn't know how I felt kind of weird about the baseball team this year, but going to talk about them for a little bit here. But we had all the bats here, we had we had good pitching last year. I mean, that's just the way it is. We had some people drafted in the MLB draft and stuff, so that's what happens. I mean, whenever you get drafted from the MLB here, Cajun baseball was probably due for a little bit of a downward trend this year. But I think they'll bounce back probably next year. I think this year, just ride it out, get some experience here. I'm not saying the season's over with here. It does sound like that. Like I'm saying, like, yeah, let's just try for next year. But they can get hot in April and when, like, the crazy thing about, like, way baseball is, like I've said many times before on the show, I like to remind people, baseball, you can get hot at any time, win your tournament, and you're in the NCAA postseason here. So I just don't know about this Cajun baseball team, though, to sustain success consistently enough to win games like that. That's all I'm saying. I just don't if they have it. I think they got the bats. I have everything you could possibly think. Like, I think they got bats. I think the fielders are going to be decent enough, but they've made errors. They have made errors, and the defense needs to work. But I like the mistakes they're making, and they have to, like, I don't know what it is. Is it a mental thing? Is it, that's part of what you got going on there. So it might be a mental thing because when you have younger guys out there and they're playing at the Teague, it's a bigger environment than what you normally are used to for baseball and stuff. So that's something to look at for sure. Let's give y'all another update here. We're at 8:49 right now. Game first pitch was at 6:00. Will it? Okay, maybe reach error. Did they crash the site?
Oh, not crash the site.
Nope,
That's
coming up.
crazy.
Crash the site. Southern fans are gonna get mad at me. Softball, their baseball program is terrible recent years. But 5-4 Cajuns game because when they Cajuns are surviving here. Look, I'm still not even if they come up with the win, I'm still not impressed. 4 errors, you left 10 on base. 4 errors kills you against really good baseball teams. Okay, that is a number right there that you don't have at all here. Look, I said last week I thought the Cajuns would beat Southern. I think they'll beat McNeese. Honestly, that's my 2. I just don't see them beating Troy though. I think they'll drop 2 or 3 against Troy. That's my last piece, and I said my piece, and I'm done with it. What you think, Jalen? Closing thoughts on this here?
Yeah, I still think with the momentum, I think they can take 2 or 3 against Troy. And like I said, you just got to see if the bats get hot, the pitching gets even better. This baseball team can win against anybody. So we just have to wait and see. And the same goes for the softball program. And I want to see what the softball team does on the road because so far 1-5 on the road, they just got to pick it back up. But both teams will.
Yeah, I think that win against Alabama, here, it's kind of like 1-5, and I'm surprised they didn't update this because technically they have won 2 games on the road, but I think it's because how your batting order. Because technically they've won. If you want to look at like road stats, that they wasn't the home team for. They've won, 3 times in Auburn, Alabama, 2 times in Tuscaloosa. So that's 5 wins they have on the road technically. From a technical 1 win, but they lost to Baton Rouge tonight. But I got 2 or 3 for them with Marshall and stuff here. And like I said earlier, I'm excited about the men's basketball program here. I might actually try to buy season tickets this year, honestly. $100, go to a bunch of games here. It might not be a bad purchase for me, honestly. I want to see, they a lot of people have been saying, oh, it's Bob Marlin that's causing the attendance problem. Well, I'm trying to put your money where your mouth is.
That's so true.
Yeah, so thank y'all for tuning into this episode here of the Fishbowl Radio. Hope you have a great and wonderful night and week, and we'll see y'all here next time here on the Fishbowl here. Juicy is on vacation, so I will not have him on the LSU pod later on this week here. I will get that done probably tomorrow. I'll probably be live either tomorrow or Thursday. We'll be live here on the Fishbowl Radio. Maybe Jalen might grace us with his presence later on this week too. So that is a cliffhanger that I'm going to leave that hanging on there. So thank you for tuning in. Hope you have a great and wonderful night. We'll see you here next time on the home of Fishbowl.